Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet.
Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown Life of a Spiritual Nomad. My name is Wes Coons and welcome back to the show. We are live on location inside the Reiki Wellness Center where my world headquarters happens to be. And I'm sitting here with the one and the only, the famous Trine. Hey, Trine.
Hi, Wes.
How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. I've waited for this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Trine always makes me cry when I talk to her. So, Trine, tell us, who are you? How did your gift start? Some of the things I try to discuss on the program is where people are going through a spiritual awakening and sometimes they feel crazy. They don't understand what's going on. You've lived this and you were living it before this was cool.
Yeah, very much so. So my story's a little different, but I still had that spiritual awakening. It was just when I was a whole lot younger. So a little background I think is kind of fun is my mother was a nun and she was Sister Trine in the convent for the Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before she took her final vows, she got a message that she needed to have children, which was really challenging for her because while she loved children, she never had any desire to leave the church. And so she talked to the priest. They decided it was for the best. And she and two of her other friends who were leaving the convent at the same time, they're from Chicago, Illinois. They decided to go on a vacation to Southern California. And they ended up at a beach party, and 3 ex-nuns met 3 sailors. And yeah, so I'm the punchline to that joke. But seriously, I am really fortunate in that while my mother was very deeply connected to her faith, when I was young, like 5 and 6, I saw things and I knew things and I could explain things that were unexplainable, and she didn't shut it down. So I feel very fortunate about that. She got curious instead. So she didn't get critical. She got curious, and that's really how it started for me. I thought everybody saw dead people. I didn't realize it was a thing. Of course, I'm talking to her about reincarnation stuff. This is as I got a little older, and she's looking at me like I've got 3 heads because, of course, how she was, her perspective and her faith was that was non-existent, especially in the early 70s, right? We didn't talk about that. So yeah, we moved a lot. My dad, I'd been to 18 different schools, I think, by the time I was 16 years old. So early on, I learned not to get connected to the physical world. And the only thing that was steady was the spirit world. And it was really interesting. And as I got older, obviously, and I got to Virginia Beach, what started to happen is I was able to build some roots and lay down some foundation. And for a short period of time, I even abandoned all of the gifts and all of the wisdom because I really just was so thrilled that I was accepted, normal, had friends, whatever you want to call it. I suppose normal is overrated. So
yeah, a little bit. What's normal?
What is normal? And what is that anyway? It's a construct. So for me, this journey has been my whole life, and it's just evolved and bloomed. And there were no books. We were on the cusp of the Bible Belt, right? So there was not a lot to go on. So early on for me, obviously, before social media and even having emails and internet. I just had me, myself, and my guides. And I had a turning point. A turning point for me was my dad died. And when he died, he came to me immediately and he asked me to do a healing class. And I thought, that is some bullshit. Like, that is dumb. And I was just newly married, and I did not want to even open myself up to the spirit world in that way. And I really resisted. And like anything for me personally, that if I am offering huge resistance to it, I have to stop and take a look at it. But I didn't learn that really until much later. So I was in huge resistance. My mother ended up scheduling a reading with this woman. Her name was August Armstrong, and she was very well respected and known in the alternative community from Delphi to New York and Georgia to New York. And I remember her taking my hand. My mom scheduled this reading, and I thought, this is a waste of your time, Mom. Like, I don't even believe in that stuff. And sure enough, the first words out of her mouth were, "Oh my God, we need to trade places. You need to be giving me the reading." So that started a journey of me reopening and reconnecting. And once I did that, Wes, it was like the floodgates opened, and I still resisted certain things. Like, okay, so this is in the early 90s that this happened. 92, 93. And I'm channeling extraterrestrials. I'm like, I don't even want to know about that. I'm just now kind of wrapping my mind around like past lives. Like, while I understood it as a child, I did go through that period of time where I blocked it out. And so I had to reopen and reintegrate. And that was really uncomfortable. I was just, like I said, newly married. And yeah, it was wild. All of this information opening up and coming through. So personally, how I landed here was I finally said uncle. And I said, you know what, Spirit, you want me to do this work? If you're so insistent on me doing this work, then you need to show me the way. At that time, especially here in Virginia Beach, anything alternative was very poverty mentality. People, and this is not a dig, but keep in mind, I am in my young 20s, my mid 20s in 1990s. So I was all about shaving my legs and wearing makeup and high heels, and all the alternative community at that time did not. And I swore, and I ate meat. There was no such thing as vegan back then. So everybody was vegetarian in the community. And so I ate meat, and I wore makeup and high heels and cleavage. And I just was very me, and I didn't fit. I still didn't fit into that community. I remember struggling with that, and I didn't match. And it was very, in addition to that, it was very poor in that I wore stilettos, they wore Birkenstocks, and no deodorant. Yeah. And so it was just a different time, and it was weird. It was very weird. If you meditated, you were a witch, or you were not Christian. If you meditated, you did not believe in God. And that was the mindset back then. And it's completely changed. And anybody listening today might go, really? Because it's changed that much. But that was the case. And so that's why I said to Spirit, I'm going to tell you what, I'll do this work. However, I need you. I will stay on this path for as long as it flows. Like, I will stay on this path for as long, and you have to if I'm to work with somebody, they come to me. I'm not searching. I'm not business carding. I'm not all of those things. And so that's how I started. And it was wild. People would come to me, and it was all like this really kind of secret squirrely shit where they would be like, so a friend referred me and I don't know what you do, but you're my last resort. And
Yeah.
so sure enough, whether it was psychic readings, whether it was past life regressions, whether it was healing, that was a big piece of my work, was the Reiki. Whatever it was, they came, and that's how the reputation built. And I charged for my services, and they paid, and they got results. And I remember people coming to me at that time going, why would you charge for God's gifts? And I said, well, the mathematician that's a gift, because I don't have that gift. And they get paid for their job. The scientists get paid for their job, that science mind, that creative mind.
Sure.
So I really had to break through a couple of mindsets, Wes, that were like, for example, like that you're being of service, you're doing God's work. Why would you charge for it? That was let alone charge a reasonable fee that you could survive on. So there were lots of different things, and people would ask if I was a witch, and not that mattered. I didn't care so much about that, but it was the delivery it was weaponized, right? So it wasn't like they were asking in a curious, open-hearted way. It was more like kind of a dig, if that makes sense.
Sure. So, are you a witch? Y'all can't see the look I just got from across the table.
So I would depend your definition, I suppose. So right now, the good news is, well, the fun news is, the great thing is that science is proving everything that witchcraft was. So your words, your vibration, your consciousness, your connection to the earth, grounding, dancing, moving your energy. Why did people dance under the moon? Why did they dance in the sun? Why did they have bare feet? Well, all of those things were considered pagan or witchcraft. And now science is proving the absolute importance of all those things. So I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep. Fun fact, your mom is a trip, right?
Right.
And
Right.
how old's your mom?
80.
How old's her new husband?
He just turned 50. But they've been together for 17 years.
They've been together Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. I think I love her just a little bit more
She's
right
cool.
now.
Yeah, they are cool. They are so cool. But even that, I'll just touch on that for a moment. Like, she lost her husband when my dad was 47. So she was 48. And she spent about 15 years, maybe 17 years, 15 years, celibate. Like, she had the love of her life. That was it. And I remember my husband, Eric, he's been on your show before.
Many times.
And he would say, Francis, here you go, Francis. That's a waste right there. We need to get you with somebody. It's like, that's a waste. It was so cute. He's like, I loved it. And so eventually, I introduced her to somebody who was very close to me, and they are perfect. They don't look, you might not, now that everybody's getting older, you can see the differences. But when they first started, it was hard to tell.
Well, your family is interesting and beautiful, and I love all of them very much. So when I first came to you, I started seeing you, I think, at least once a week, if not twice a week sometimes, for a couple years.
Yeah.
And one of the things you taught me is how life happens for me and not to me, and basically how to live in this place called Earth and live this life. So how do you take somebody through a trauma like you've done with me so quickly, it seemed like, when nobody else could?
So we work with the whole, the body, mind, and spirit. I want to give a better definition, or a definition at all, for the listeners on what trauma is. Not a rape. Trauma is not getting shot. Trauma is not getting into a car accident. Trauma is not being abandoned by your family. Trauma is the way the energy field and the body hold and encapsulate the energy. And so what happens is it creates like a glitch in your own personal electrical system. And so you've got this issue. So you ever wonder why somebody with two complete same experiences, but somebody walks out different and they are able to move through, and others not so much. And so remembering first that we're hydroelectric beings, the sun charges us. We're a big walking battery. The sun charges us, the earth grounds us. And so when we remember that that's what we are scientifically, okay, because they're proving that now. When a healer is able to scan the body and they are not attached to the story that the client is bringing in, okay, this client is bringing in their story, Wes, their story of what happened. But really what happened is all of that energy got stuck in your body. So yours was definitely an excessive, huge, massive awakening for you. And so you were in your true Marine style fighting. When the energy would get blocked, you would try to power over it rather than connect with it. And so when you do that, like you did over such a long period of time, it built to the house thing. That was the final thing where Spirit's like, okay, let's give them this. Like, and so next thing you know, you're in this hell, living hell. And to the question, why did that work? A lot of reasons. One, I show up with zero attachment to the story you brought to the table. My job is to scan just the body and the energy field, to scan it, notice where there is excessive or deficient energies, and channel universal life force energy to raise that vibration or move it. And the reason we would see each other on a regular basis, and sometimes 2 times a week, is because there was a healing version that came from the healer, myself, putting my hands in your field and working with you. And then there was also the reprogramming of the mind so that the old tape didn't have as much pull. So does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay.
It does make sense. Because I guess it really was just a giant reprogramming.
Yeah.
Because when I came in, the old story was I was ugly, weak, and stupid.
Right.
Right? Because that's the story, I believe, because I was told it so many times.
That's right.
And all the times I went to talk therapy, nobody said life happens for you and not to you. And I don't know if you remember, you probably do. We were in one of the Reiki classes. I think I've done level 1 with you 5 or 6 times, level 2 5 or 6 times, level 3 multiple times. And you were telling us that we're here on a soul contract. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I'm sitting up there across the table from this cat, and I'm telling, we're agreeing he's going to do X, Y, and Z to me. And you said yes. I was so fucking pissed off. I couldn't see straight.
And I want to address that because I think so. In our consciousness, we think we go to first grade and then we graduate to second grade and we graduate to third grade, right? Well, when you say you sit in on the Reiki classes, when you say you've taken it 3 or 4 times or 5 times or whatever it was, it's not about taking it again like a remedial or somebody didn't understand it. It's about plugging in each time with a new level. And I encourage it. Everyone, if you're a Reiki master, it doesn't matter what, revisit a Reiki 1 class.
Sure.
There's a lot of reasons for it. And I'm a big believer in exploring the different classes and what each of the energies have to offer. So additionally, when we talk about, now while you just paraphrase it and it was short and it was sweet and it was funny, we make contracts. So from conception, this is really important for people at least chew on, is that from conception to about 13, we know all of the major events that are going to happen to us. So we contract that. And the reason why we do that, Wes, is because we are vulnerable. And oftentimes it's clearing karmic debt. Oftentimes it is an opportunity for us to, like, I can't, so a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 20-year-old, it's easier to fight off something that might be happening. It's you process it. You process abandonment differently at 16 than you do at 6, right? So if a parent disappears, whether it's because of death or a divorce or what have you, and you are processing the energy of abandonment and not having that gender parent, what's going on right there is big work for the soul, right? And so, yeah, we do come here, and we do come here to learn. It's kind of like college, right? It's like we come here and we're like, all right, let me pick my classes. Let me pick my, and you'll notice, you'll notice you're going to get a degree in abandonment, but specialize in. So if though you pay attention, you'll notice the theme stays throughout the life. You'll get better at dancing with it, but the theme is there because it's what you're here to practice. Now, on the day where you are completely in flow and completely in surrender, and the ego is used for what the ego is intended to, and not any zero judgment and zero attachment, but rather a simple choice, like the ego is designed to help us make choices, all right, without attachment or what have you. When we realize we ascend to that level, then it doesn't exist in your life anymore. That's why, and I'm talking fast, that's why it's so important to forgive and forget. That is another element that people brush over. And forgiving is important. Not too fast. We're meant to be angry. We're human. We're supposed to have all the feelings. I'm going to be very unpopular here in a minute. Unpopular perspective. You're supposed to be envious. You're supposed to get jealous. You're supposed to get angry. You're supposed to have all the feelings that a human is to feel. The choice is how long you're going to stay there. That's where the secret sweet spot is. So yeah, feel the feelings, any of them, whatever you want. However, understand that you do have the ability to stay in that or move through it. And the ego says, I should move through it in this amount of time. However, that's the point, is that the ego is in part keeping you in the wound because that's what it knows. And the more you are willing to drop into that place of peace and allow this process to take as long, fine, it'll take as long as it, and you got there finally.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like you finally got there and it was like, okay, fine. When you were like, Uncle, I get it. Now I get what you're saying, Trina. I actually remember where I was because it was in 2020, that particular call for you. And I remember where I was in the office. So forgetting is important because it takes it out of the energy field. So forgive is a step, but forgetting, what it does is when you can no longer recount the story in detail, that is spiritual growth. We want that. We want to go, yes, this experience happened to me, but your body isn't feeling it. Your mind cannot capture all the finite details it once used to, right? So
Yeah. Well, when you said that, I remember being pissed, more than pissed. And I think it took me probably, I feel like 6 months to wrap my mind around it, maybe somewhere in there. But
sure.
For me, I'm in real estate. So I got to the point, I'm like, well, if this is a contract, I'm required to fulfill my contract. I didn't know how to get out of the victim energy of it. And in my mind, when I came to the reality, or I agreed that there was a contract in place, that allowed me to finally shift gears.
Yeah, it made you, and it puts you in your power. So when I said from conception, when you can recognize that from conception to 13, you're operating on an agreement that your soul, your higher self implemented it. You're in your power. You can now at 20, 30, 40, 50, you're able to go, yeah, I see that. Okay. And I choose to step out of that. It's a better choice. And so free will is the name of the game anyway, buddy. Yeah. I mean, and we surrender our free will for a little while.
Well, I've been debating with my friend Kelsey that I keep telling her we don't have free will, and she says that we do.
I think semantics. I think that's semantics, actually. I think that when we break it down, I think that it's the nuances of how you explain how one is going to explain it. On one hand, there is that duality is one of the universal laws. And it's interesting because when you recognize that you have free will and you can surrender to the divine, and the divine makes a way where there seemingly is no way, all of a sudden you're doing a dance. So we do co-create. We do absolutely create the energy we're in today. You get to choose to be happy today or not. That is your choice. You're not powerless. You can decide to be happy even regardless of what happens today. You get to decide, I'm going to be undisturbed. So you do have free will. You have choice.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you that question right there.
Okay.
It's my choice to be happy today. However, let's say I wake up and I'm heartbroken, I'm sad, I've just coming out of a relationship that didn't work for me, I lost a loved one or something. How do you just choose to be happy?
Well, I think the secret is choosing to be present. So I just lost a loved one. And so I speak from walking it. It's not I'm not sitting here not having lost someone. I just lost my son, right? You take a moment and you feel the big feelings and you allow yourself to feel whatever it is that's coming up. Anger, resentment, just sadness, just sad. And you'll notice that if you do that, Wes, if you do that very intentionally and you go, fine, I'm going to feel it. Those feelings last for a very short period of time. And then there's this break in them. And it's like you take a deep breath and it's like, oh, and either the tears stop or whatever. And then in that next moment, the mind has an opportunity or a choice to go back into the emotion or forward with the day. I'll take a moment to talk on that. There's a big difference between feelings and emotions, Wes. How I teach it is that your feelings are a lot like your thoughts. We are feeling them all the time. They're coming and going. There's thousands of them at any given time, hundreds of thousands of them at any given time, from the physical feeling to the emotional feeling to the spiritual feeling. Those all are happening simultaneously. And you got thoughts ding around, okay? That's natural. That's normal. Emotion is old energy. Emotion's old energy. And so when you give yourself a punishment, you are in old energy and you are in emotion, and you ruminate, not you, one will ruminate on how they're feeling, and they're in the past. They're not in the moment. If you take a moment and you go, yeah, the other day I heard Vaughn's voice on a voicemail and tears just started coming, and I was sad and I missed his voice and I wished he could hold his son and all those things. And it passed. It passed. I had a great evening, but it was an unexpected voicemail that I heard. And so it caught me off guard. I was sad for a moment. I was sad. I grieved. I felt sorry for myself even for a split second that my son wasn't going to hold his son. He doesn't get to see him in swim lessons or whatever. And then it gone. And then it went away because I didn't stop myself from crying. I let myself cry, even though it was an inconvenient time. I had extra people in the house. And so I honored it. I honored myself. So I think what I want to share is that when you're feeling lost or sad or any of what they call negative emotions, what is referred to as negative emotions or lower vibrational frequencies, allow yourself to be in it and then honor when it stops. I think that's the thing people forget to do, is they forget to honor when the body is complete in the moment, and then allow themselves joy or happiness or contentment after that.
Yeah, I like that. I was listening to Joel Osteen the other day, I don't know, a couple of months ago maybe, and he was talking about, and you've talked about it in class, asking for forgiveness over and over and over and over for the same freaking thing, right? And the things that you both said was, you're asking for forgiveness, but you haven't opened your heart to receive the forgiveness.
That's right.
And when I did that, it changed so much.
Right. And opening, and I guess for people who are new to the process, it takes a minute. Like, that is the human experience. Like, release your expectation or your attachment to what healing from a broken heart looks like. Everybody's is different. It's like a flower. Every flower that we might have a similar stem, thorn, petals, etc., but it's different. It's different. It's different. We're all different. And so if we honor ourselves, it feels so selfish, doesn't it, to hear we honor yourself, and it's like, what's that mean exactly? Well, what that means is to be present and allow your life experience to be what it is in this moment. And if you do that, it will set you up for a more joyful or open-hearted life experience in the next moment. Yeah.
I do. So I seen a meme this week that said, it said, God will keep putting a lesson in front of you until you learn it. And about 5 minutes later, I get a phone call from Lakota letting me know that my ex is coming to the Sweat Lodge this weekend with her ex-husband and her son. And I'm like, motherfucker.
Right, but I think the other way around to look at it is grace. Let me tell you how I would look at that. I would look at it as, I've got the best team. Thank you for giving me a heads up. Now you have a choice.
Yeah.
It's not like you showed up and you were like a weeble wobble, right? Like, it's like now you get to decide. I mean, am I ready to be in that energy? And the answer, if it's no, is completely okay.
Sure. Well, the last lodge she showed up at last month or whatever, I chose not to go. And it's interesting, I went home and slept till like 4 o'clock that day.
You needed it.
I did. And this time I got angry. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, why am I angry? This person cared about me so much in spirit that she agreed to come here to fulfill a contract with me. And at the end of the day, she didn't do anything to me. I allowed myself to have those experiences because Wes didn't love himself enough to step out of the relationship and set up a boundary.
That's right.
And if I really look at the whole picture, I know how much she wanted to reconnect with her son and to bring him to the Sweat Lodge and to bring her ex-husband that's been struggling, who I really like her ex-husband. You know, what a blessing that is for the three of them to be able to do that together. And when I decided I was just going to have an open heart and invite everybody there and treat everybody with an open heart and love, my anger went away.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? The secret to all the things is an open heart, an open mind, and an open heart. And I guess when we pause and breathe, we give ourselves a moment to make an intentional choice. And so we were taught to react growing up. We all were taught to react. We weren't taught to respond. Very few were gifted that lesson with their parents. Most are taught to react. And you recognizing that you're outgrowing some energy, there's things showing up to interrupt certain things, and there's a lot of ways there's a lot of information in that thing you just shared. An awful lot. An awful lot of information, what you just shared.
Yeah.
You've known you've been outgrowing certain circles or dynamics, things, and it's hard to make that decision. I also want to throw something else out there. Boundaries, I think, are also very misunderstood because in personal relationships, boundaries build intimacy. They don't create separateness. They build intimacy.
What do you mean?
So when you are with someone that you love, a child, a partner, or someone you respect, and you hold a level of integrity for yourself and a required energy for when people are around you, that builds connection. People feel safe with you because you know who you are. You know what you'll accept. People love flourishes in boundaries, right? So it's not separate. It's not keeping somebody out, but rather keeping a healthy flow connection. So boundaries, I think, get a bad rap. I think boundaries are, obviously I say that, and what I mean by that is obviously everybody knows they're important, but everybody struggles with them.
Sure.
And I'm being very generic when I say that. It's often that people struggle with boundaries. A struggle with boundary is directly related to not knowing or accepting what you're worth. And as soon as you say, gosh, I'd love to come stay with you tonight, but I am so tired. Can we meet for coffee, like during the dating process? Versus going over there and being irritated and being tired and annoyed by a cat or a dog or whatever. It's like when we stop and we just honor the process, it brings connection.
It does. Now, obviously, this is the Reiki Wellness Center. You teach Reiki here. What else do you teach?
Meditation.
Yeah. And what's the program? Do you still teach the program, that year-long program I went through?
The Well-Healed Soul.
Uh-huh.
I do. That's a big one. So the Well-Healed Soul started out, funny, I remember when I was first starting, 8 years in, I still didn't want to teach classes. It didn't matter. It was never about, it was just, my whole purpose has always been about making that heart connection with people and helping them to fall in love with themselves and know their worth. And so I had a group of students that kept wanting me to teach a class. And I'm like, I don't want to teach a class. But they all wanted to learn about angels. So I'll tell you what, I'll teach you guys about angels. So it started out as an angel class where I taught like 6 people about angels. And then it evolved into, it kept going, all the different things. And it turned into mentoring group. And then it turned into the Well-Healed Soul. And then there's also the Well-Healed Woman, the Well-Healed Warrior. So for someone who wants just an all-girls class or an all-male class, the Well-Healed Soul can be integrated at boys and girls. So men and women. So yeah, that's probably one of the most popular classes. So the Reiki, the meditation, and the Well-Healed Soul are probably the biggest things I do. And then I'll do workshops, but
then you do one-on-one.
Yes, I do.
So
Yeah.
what is that?
So one-on-one, so it depends on what someone's looking for, right? So obviously I have hypnosis and I can do all kinds of things. I think it's really important I'll do like an integrative Reiki session where they come in and we just kind of connect and see what they need. And then from there, we build out their program. What it is they need, like...
Well, I highly recommend it.
You're sweet. Thank you.
It's been good for me. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. How do they connect with you? How do they find you?
Well, the website for sure. That's the easiest way. I am finally, y'all, okay, I want to tell you guys this real quick. Before there was email, before there was a World Wide Web, I was doing this work. So I had a team. And one of my guys came to me and he was like, you need to make a website. We need to get you an email. I'm like, why would I need that? What?
Yeah.
Couldn't need it. And so he was wanting me to do podcasts back then. He was wanting me to do TED Talks back then. It was so crazy. So we have a great website now. So we definitely have a great website. You can always reach us there. And I'm
that's-
doing social media stuff.
and that's
Finally. rwmcva.com.
Okay, cool. And what's the phone number here?
757-491-6500. And you
Nice.
can call or text.
Yes, you can. And all the phone systems, the website and everything's Reiki infused with love.
Absolutely.
So, well, Trine, this was fun. Thank you so much. I brought Abigail, my German Shepherd
Yeah.
puppy. She was trying to low crawl underneath Trine's chair a few minutes ago. I was like, you're going to my room. So I guarantee when I go upstairs to get her, she's laying on the healing table
She
because
is.
she loves the healing table. So, Trine, thank you. I love
Wes,
you.
thank you.
And I appreciate you being on the show.
I love you.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.